Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Everybody's awake? It's so great to look out here and see so many faces this time in the morning on Thursday. You know, when you start the school year with a big idea and you think, we could do this, and then you don't realize how big it is until you start getting into it. This is one of those big ideas. But like all big ideas, one that we feel very, very lucky to be in the center of, and one that we could not pull off without your participation. My name is Saul Sarabia. I serve as the Administrative Director for the Critical Race Studies program here at the law school. I'm also an alum of the law school from the class of 1996. So it's a great pleasure to welcome you to our home, and in particular to welcome you on this, the 10th anniversary since the faculty of this law school decided to vote in favor of creating the only critical race studies specialization in the country. So I think the institution deserves a round of applause for that. Now, as you know, the constituency that has really built this movement within academia and in legal practice and in social movements here and across other borders transcends law schools. It transcends the institutional infrastructure that we have here to engage students who came to law school with the crazy idea that their degree should serve them to change the world. It is a mission that we describe as thinking new ideas, teaching new leaders and scholars, and transforming racial justice and other kinds of advocacy. And we see ourselves not only as fulfilling that mission through our program here, but also through the connections that we make with the CRT constituency wherever you all may be. It's rare that we have the opportunity to actually convene together and to exchange ideas and to talk about the challenges facing those of us who share this mission. And we certainly hope that this event will provide that space for all of you and for all of us to take stock of the progress, not only within our own individual projects, our political work, and our legal advocacy efforts, but more broadly as a community of people who are interested in unleashing the transformative power of the law. And we certainly hope that you will put that front and center, especially as you navigate your way through our logistics. We have a wonderful group of student volunteers who you will see in t-shirts over the next few days. And if you will, just take a moment to acknowledge that you know what it takes for them to be volunteering over 3 days to pull something like this off in addition to their studies. We also have some co-sponsors without whom this event we just would not have been able to pull off. And so we'd like to introduce some of them today, say something a little bit about how the day is going to proceed, and then I have just some logistical updates that'll move us into the next session. So that's what we'd like to do with this moment to kick off the time that we will be together. I do want to say that it is really an honor and a pleasure to tell you that there was such an overwhelming response to this event that it really took us by surprise, and that we're energized and we're excited, and we've learned a lot from it. And we hope that it will be an opportunity for us to build this as an ongoing engagement over the next decade of our life as an institution. So this morning what I'd like to do is just give you a picture of some of us behind the event. I'd like to ask one of our faculty co-directors, Professor Russell Robinson, to welcome you to the institution. We'd also like to acknowledge and give an opportunity to our principal co-sponsors to welcome you to the event. One of them is an institutional co-sponsor, the Thomas Jefferson School of Law's Women and the Law Project, which also has an annual event focused on themes related to women in the law, and decided this year to do that in coordination with our annual symposium. So we were really grateful to them. Kaimi Wenger is here from the institution to welcome you. And then also this symposium has, like CRT, a history which is rooted in student leadership and activism. when I first started this job in 2005 as the first administrative director, I had a line of students who waiting in front of my office to tell me what my job was, what they expected me to do, what had been missing, and where we were going next. One of those things was to help the faculty in establishing an annual signature event, a symposium like this one. And so we continue that tradition. This year's student organization that co-sponsored the event is called the Women of Color Collective here at the UCLA School of Law, and Ayanna London is representing that group, and she'll give a few words of welcome. So without further ado, Professor Russell Robinson.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming here. I'm going to speak briefly. We're all going to speak briefly, I hope, because we're trying to stay on schedule. We really want to do our best, especially at the beginning, to stay on schedule. We know that eventually it might get a little off, but we're going to try to start off on the right foot. So we're very excited to be here today. We're very happy to see you here to celebrate the groundbreaking scholarship by Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, and also to map how the ideas have traveled over the years through multiple countries, multiple disciplines, and to see how the ideas have changed, and perhaps also to correct some distortions that have occurred over the past few years. So it's a unique opportunity to focus on some tremendously rich ideas and how they've evolved over time, and what we think in terms of the future, what we want to do with them going forward. It's also, I think, I want to sort of note there's something special that happens here at UCLA, and something that we are encouraging you to take part in going forward. So some people might say, well, why a critical race studies program, especially in 2010? I mean, we have a black president, right? The first black president. Surely there's no need for critical race studies. You might recall several months ago there was a story, I think this was before the election, about is Obama the end of black politics, right? Suggesting that sort of there's no need to even organize around identity anymore in light of Obama. What we've seen, and we actually began our school year here with a program about President Obama and now Justice Sotomayor, and the difficulty they had in terms of talking about race and gender and discrimination because of this expectation that even when you've achieved this high status, in fact, maybe particularly when you achieve that high status, you're expected to be silent about these issues and not to challenge issues of subordination. So there's a tremendous need, I think, because of this silencing, in part, to continue this discussion, and it's just as important now, maybe even more important, with a black president. So I'm excited about sharing with you a space where there is commitment throughout the critical race studies faculty and the students who play a tremendous role in sustaining the program, to having frank and rigorous dialogue about race and all the identities that intersect with it, right? So intersectionality is a foundational principle of the critical race studies program. I write about sexual orientation and queer theory, and there are some schools where, as a black man writing about these issues and writing about race, that people would say, like, well, if it's a race program, why are you talking about sexuality? What do those two have to do with each other, right? That's never a question at UCLA. It's understood and it's expected that we will pay attention to how identity works in multiple forms and how they interact, right? So that's a foundational principle here, and I'm encouraged that so many people have responded to the call to be here, to be a part of that conversation. And we're excited about that continuing in the years to come. We hope you'll come back every year for our symposium. You'll come to events in between, and you'll be our friends and colleagues. So without further ado, I'm going to just welcome you and invite you to come by and say hi if you see me in the hallway. Thanks a lot.
Hello, I'm Kaimi Wenger on behalf of the Thomas Jefferson Law School and Thomas Jefferson Women in Law program. I want to thank Russell Robinson, Kim Crenshaw, Saul, all of the folks involved, and the Critical Race Studies Symposium for allowing us to be a co-sponsor. We're very honored to be here. How we ended up here is that we contacted Kim and we asked her to come speak at our Women in Law conference. This is our 10th year of presenting an annual Women in Law conference at Thomas Jefferson Law School, which is located in San Diego, a few blocks down the coast. And so one thing which I would encourage you to do if you have a moment, we do have a small history of women in law, and you'll notice that we have highlighted as well the fact that at this point we have Professor Crenshaw is going to be our Women in Law speaker at Thomas Jefferson Law School in a month. We're very happy to be here, and we think it's a great collaboration. One thing that happened a few years ago at Thomas Jefferson Law School was that Ruth Bader Ginsburg came and spoke, and she talked about issues relating to Supreme Court jurisprudence, and she talked about women's issues. And since then, we've had the Ruth Bader Ginsburg lecture at Thomas Jefferson Law School, and we're very proud that Kim Crenshaw is going to be our Ruth Bader Ginsburg lecturer. So this is a wonderful occasion, we think, to broaden the horizon. Prior Women in Law conferences have focused on perhaps more traditional, or thought of as traditional women's rights issues, like gender discrimination at work. And in fact, women's rights issues blend into, as we all know through intersectionality, blend into racial justice issues, blend into LGBT rights issues, and so many other things. And so we think this is a great opportunity to expand on the concept of women in law and to do it in a way that brings the idea of intersectionality to the forefront. So we're very, very pleased to be here. A number of my colleagues are speaking at this conference, and we're very thankful for the opportunity to do so. And we're especially thankful for the chance to have Kim Crenshaw, Russell Robinson, and other colleagues down to Thomas Jefferson in the next month. So we would encourage you, if I could, to take a look at the flyer, save the date, and possibly drive down the coast. It's a beautiful drive. And come to visit us in a month when we have the continued discussion. Come see our new building. And in the meantime, absolutely, we're very happy to be here at the wonderful conference. And thank you again for the opportunity to be here.
Good morning. Good morning. So on behalf of the Women of Color Collective, I just wanted to say welcome, and I wanted to give a special welcome to all the students that have come out today and for this weekend. You've come from afar. We have people here from New York, Toronto, Miami, Maryland, just across the country and the globe. So I just wanted to extend a special welcome to you. Your presence here really represents implementation of one of the goals of the Critical Race Studies program. Student initiative and action are at the heart of the mission to think, teach, and transform. And you'll note that many of the students here have spent countless hours trying to ensure that your voices would be strong and would be deep during this weekend. So I encourage you not only to take advantage of this incredible opportunity to meet your heroes and gain mentors, but to also engage with your fellow students, your fellow colleagues. And we look forward to learning more about your work, to gaining your insights, and to joining in action. So welcome and enjoy. Thank you.
Okay, great. So if I can do this in 4 minutes, we're on time. Basically, what I'd like to do is just make sure that we're all on the same page about what's going to happen today, and then use the opportunity to also just mention a few logistical priorities or things that might be a priority to you. So everybody should have received a copy of their program. So in the folders at registration. If you haven't, you should go back up to the front and ask for one. The schedule for today, listed under Thursday, March 11th, has not changed. So we are going to leave this room and go into concurrent sessions over the next hour and a half until 12:30. We will then actually break for lunch. We're going to have box lunches that then will allow you to very quickly walk to the next set of concurrent sessions. And that was our way of accommodating all the great interest there was in presenting. We have worked with our students to identify community vendors from around the Los Angeles area, particularly family-owned restaurants from racial minority communities. So today you'll have some very tasty Vietnamese food at the break. And After the second set of concurrent workshops or sessions and the next break, we are actually going to be reconvening this afternoon in this room and in the room next door for some concurrent workshops that we've organized as a program and that we thought folks might be very interested in hearing about, and that they are focused on reading and teaching the original texts in intersectionality that are the focus of this conference, and then also how to construct intersectional research projects and engage in intersectional research practice. And so we have some folks that are going to be part of that discussion. It'll be in this room and in the next room in the afternoon. I should mention that as the attendance increases, and we expect it to, there are a lot of people from other parts of the country who are teaching today and aren't flying in till later today. The plenary sessions will all be held in this room, 1347. This is where the live bodies will be. Seating is on a first-come, first-served basis, right, because we don't know who's flying and when, and we can't really regulate that at the door. So since you're here now, you should just know, move quickly, get into this room, because when this room fills up, what we're going to do is we're going to set up overflow projection next door. It's the classroom that looks just like this one, and we expect at different parts of the day that we will need to use that overflow. So if you just keep moving, you'll have a seat inside here where the proceedings are. After the concurrent workshops that we are going to have from 3 to 5, we have planned our opening reception here in our beautiful courtyard. We were actually afraid that it was actually going to rain in LA, of all places. As of 2 days ago, it still looked like it was going to rain. But we've got the sunshine, which we know is implied in our promises when we invite you to LA. And so it's here. And I should mention also that there is a wireless internet available in that courtyard. And we are going to write on this chalkboard and just have students available the steps that you should take. If you look at the browser and you look for the wireless connection that is UCLA, you'll be able to get started. So if you have your laptop, you need to check email. Courtyard is wired. So wired and sun. How about that? So after that reception in the courtyard, we'll come back into this room for our opening plenary tonight from 6 to 8, which is moderated by our own Cheryl Harris. And so we will complete the day that way, let you get to the hotel, get some sleep, and come back very early for 8 o'clock sessions tomorrow. Okay, so that's the overview of the day. I also wanted to mention that there are corrections. There is a correction sheet that didn't make it into your booklet, so we're going to make a 2-sided page of corrections and additions available out here. That was in part, we've learned not to be so generous, so next year you got to ask sooner. And so we were trying to accommodate as many of those changes as we could, and that's why that's not in there. But there's a sheet called Program Corrections and Updates that our student volunteers will also have at the registration tables, and that we will try to put out when you get out of the last session so that you'll have them. There is also a bulletin board next to this room where we will be posting the most current version of the day's events. So just for today, Thursday, you can always look up there and see what's actually supposed to happen. Okay, so I think it's more important that we stay on time. This is probably the only time in the entire symposium where I can actually deliver on this promise. So we are going to actually take advantage of the fact that there are only 4 concurrent workshops, because there are a lot of classes happening right now in the law school. If you look at the program under concurrent sessions for Thursday at 11 a.m., there are only 4 rooms, and one of them is in here. This is one of the rooms where we'll have a co-sponsored session by the American Constitution Society on intersectionality and the courts. The other 3 rooms, we have students prepared to guide you to as soon as you leave this room. One of them is on this same floor. It's room 1310. And there are 2 other rooms that are upstairs on the 2nd floor. So if you haven't already had a chance to look at those titles and decide where you're going to go, you should do that in the next 30 seconds. And then we will see you out here in the courtyard area for lunch after the sessions. Thank you.